What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is legendary NHL defenseman Ken Daneyko. Kenny Daneyko played his entire NHL career with the New Jersey Devils, winning 3 Stanley Cup championships. The Devils eventually retired his number 3. It's a big honor to have him on the podcast today. Don't forget to smack that subscribe button down below. Hit me with a like, and let's jump into it right now with Mr. Devil, Ken Daneyko, on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Ken Daneyko. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and good to be with you.
All right, let's start it like this. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I have 2 kids, 26-year-old daughter. Her name is Taylor, and I have a 21-year-old son. His name is Shane, and they're still kids, even though their age reflects adulthood, but that's what we love about them. You always want them to be your little kids.
What type of sports or activities were they into growing up?
Well, to be honest, my 21-year-old boy is complete opposite of me. He had his own passion and dreams as a little kid, and I love it. I was a sports junkie, as a lot of people know, not just hockey, you name it, whatever sport it was. I was a big baseball guy as well, and everything revolved around sports. My son, his passion since 3 years old, all he has done and we'd hear consistently in the house was singing and dancing around, and he's really from the artistic side, I would say. Yes, we put him in baseball, Pop Warner football, tried to skate, a little hockey, but it wasn't for him, and it was fine with me. I know a lot of parents push their kids into the sports world, but he broadened my horizons. He just had his own passion, and he's continuing to grow with it. And he's at Berklee College of Music in Boston for singing, so he's doing pretty darn well. Tough school to get in. We're very proud of him, and he's going into his junior year, third year, I guess, in college, and I love it because, like I said, instead of going to a sporting event when he was younger, we used to go to a Broadway play. That was his passion, that was his love, and he's a great kid. So I'm just happy to guide him along, even though I can't teach him anything from the singing standpoint. But like I said, he's broadened my horizons. He's a very cultural kid, and I don't know where he gets it. He didn't get it from his mother either, I don't believe, but I love him to death. He's a great kid.
Yeah, good stuff, Ken. And if you could, just take a minute here just to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Well, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, Western Canada, actually born in Windsor, Ontario. And for people that don't know as much about hockey, I'm sure a lot of your listeners do, but it's a religion up in Canada where I grew up. And you basically came out of your mother's womb and put a pair of skates on. If you didn't have a whole lot to do with the outdoor rinks and ponds and how cold it was growing up when I was a younger kid. But I was just passionate about the game of hockey, passionate about sports right from a young age. Told my mother since 7 years old, 20 times a day, I'm going to play in the National Hockey League. So it was hockey. And like I said, I was a big baseball guy, left-handed pitcher. I know people don't think we play baseball in Canada because of the cold weather, but we do. And I love that as well, amongst a few other sports. But I grew up with my dream of playing the National Hockey League, like a lot of young boys, where I grew up at a very young age. And my mother at the time, she's passed along, God rest her soul, but I don't know if she really believed I was being realistic because, to be honest, there was 10 Ken Daneykos in every corner throughout Canada. But it was something that I believed in. I believed in myself, wanted to make it, and to fast track. And fortunately, after a lot of hard work and going through the ranks in junior hockey or minor hockey and then junior hockey, having to leave home at a young age at 15 years old, which was pretty young. Not many people, I know it was a little different dynamic back when I was growing up. Not in a million years over my dead body would I let my kids leave at 15. But I left 500 miles away to go play junior hockey right out of Bantam to pursue my dream. And fortunately, I put my eggs in one basket, and it all worked out from that perspective, and moved along to junior ranks and then to junior hockey. And my dream was fulfilled in 1982 when I was drafted that summer by the New Jersey Devils and played my first game in 1983 in the most famous sports arena in the world, Madison Square Garden. My first game. Our team wasn't very good, but I was trying to get my foot in the door, and my mother, who doesn't travel to many big cities, didn't like to travel all that much at all, came and said she didn't care if I played another game in the National Hockey League. He told me every day forever that he was going to play, and I can't believe he made it. And I went on to play a few more games and a few more years, a lot more than I thought, a lot more than she thought. I was very grateful and fortunate to play 20 years, 1 year professional hockey with the New Jersey Devils, which I'm very proud of. Still work with the organization, have been with them for 37 years. So it really is my family, my second family, call it what you want. But 20 years as a player and another 17 in the organization. I do the broadcast color analyst now on MSG Networks for all the games, but I also do a lot for the organization as far as in the community and for the New Jersey area, where I'm a transplant in New Jersey and pretty well. I made it my home right at a young age of 19. I love it here, and they've given it everything. They've given me everything that I could dream of as far as support, and I just love the Jersey area, and the fans have been fantastic to me. So yeah, we do a lot of the community stuff along the way with the Devils organization, whether it's play hockey for free or inner cities continuing to grow the game, or just the corporate speaking to some of our great partners along the way. So I'm kind of wearing a lot of hats, and I love it that way. And yes, I get to talk about the game I love and I'm passionate about, and talk about my team and root for my team, but with a balance, I hope.
Yeah, well, what an incredible career that you had, Ken. And yeah, I know that the Devils do a lot. My kids played in the indoor hockey league that the Devils were sponsoring for quite a while there, and I think it's tremendous what they provide for everybody. And along this journey for you here during your career, about how old were you then when you first became a father, and how did becoming a dad kind of change your perspective on life?
Well, I have to think a little bit.
You can round it off.
I used the excuse I was hitting the head with pucks and sticks a little bit. That's my excuse that I always use my memory's good. It's just short. So no, a little bit of an oxymoron. But now my daughter Taylor, who is, by the way, we talked a lot about my son, and he's my second child. My daughter is me. She was the sports junkie. She's the diehard, passionate Devils fan. My son, he comes to games every once in a while just to socialize. He knew everybody at the arena. They love him. He knew every security guard. So during the game and every usher and all the wonderful people that have worked at both arenas when we started the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, now Prudential, he's the social butterfly. I love it. They love him because Shane's just real. He just likes to talk about life and see how everybody's doing. And my daughter, no, she'll be glued watching the game. She's a diehard Devils fan. Caught the end of my career, obviously. She was born in '94. I retired in 2003, and she was the athletic one and had some ability, and she played hockey a little bit growing up as well, and was a real good skater actually, and retired, and I was kind of disappointed. She retired when I retired after 2003. So I just realized she basically played the game. She took figure skating when she was younger, got into hockey. I used to be able to go every Sunday, watch her play even during my busy schedule as a player. But when I retired, now I was going to get into it and try to guide her and help her, because she was actually pretty good and a real good skater. And then when I hung the skates up in 2003, she comes to me and says, "Dad, I think I'm going to retire." And it was so funny the way she said it. And I knew she just wanted to do other things. She had a passion for it, but she just felt that we wanted to move on and do other things. And now I was a little disappointed, because I'm like, "Taylor, you're so good. You seem to love it." She goes, "I know, but I'm ready to move on. So whatever they want. But till this day, she lives in New York City and graduated college at LIM, Fashion Marketing Institute. And she probably 60-70% of the games takes the train to Newark and comes to the games. And if I'm on the road, she's texting me during games while I'm calling the games when the team's struggling, going, what's bleeping going on here? Like, what are they doing? And I'm going, Taylor, I'm working now, okay? We will discuss after. But she's my daughter. So she was 9 years old when I retired, 94. So I think I had her at 31. 31. I think I'm accurate. I had to do the math in my head. My strong suits. So I was 31 when I had my first child. That was my daughter Taylor, and I mean, obviously, it's a miracle. I mean, that's one thing. As soon as your child is born, I mean, hockey was everything to me. Always is. I mean, I ate, slept, drank it. Your whole world is revolved around it. You're obviously have to be selfish somewhat because it's training, it's eating, it's, you know, when you're playing at the highest level. I mean, to compete and to continue to grow and get better and keep your job, you have to be selfish, and it's a big sacrifice for your family at times. I mean, I guess I don't know if people realize at the time. I know there's a lot of perks and financially and as far as accolades and things along the line, and you're doing what you dreamed of as a little boy. But you know, there's a lot of sacrifices for family, and when you have your first child, obviously it puts things in perspective a little bit and what's important. And to me, I always say the most amazing thing to me I've ever seen, I'm sure millions of people say it, is watching the birth of your first child, watching the birth of a child. I mean, my eyes were like saucers, like deer in the headlights going, I can't believe that. Like, it's pretty wild. It's as you know, I guess it's hard to explain, but it was way more overwhelming than I thought. Like, I was just amazed. And obviously it changes things because now you have somebody in your life that is more important than maybe everything else that you grew up or channeled your mind to. And for me, it was the game of hockey.
Yeah, well said, Ken. What was it like for you then to, win the Stanley Cup and be able to share that moment with your kids and to have, I know I've seen some pictures you threw up there on Instagram of them with the cup as little kids. What was it like for you to achieve the highest goal in the sport that you love and be able to share that with your kids?
Well, as far as professionally, my first dream was to get drafted and then play, and a small percentage to get drafted and play in the National Hockey League. And then it was my next dream to play a game, and I talked about that and did that in 1983. And then obviously fortunate enough to go on to have a pretty long career. But the second dream really is, as your little kid, is hoisting the Stanley Cup. Any kid that plays hockey. I used to carry a silver garbage can over my head playing street hockey, pretending it was the Stanley Cup. And did I ever think we'd achieve it? Well, I don't think many people, certainly in hockey or in the state of New Jersey, thought so, especially in the early 80s, because we weren't good. We were pretty bad. But I really wanted to be part of something, and they were the team that gave me my opportunity. I wanted to be part of the solution. I didn't want to go anywhere. So many players along the way, well, maybe I should go out to a better team or get traded. I was one of those guys that I loved New Jersey. I loved the fans. I loved the state. We wanted to create something here, grow the game of hockey as well for the youth. And I think being the first professional sports team or hockey team in New Jersey certainly helped do that and grow the game. And then finally, in 95, 12 years into my career, the team grew. We got a lot better. Lou Lamoriello was a big part of that, our Hall of Fame general manager who really orchestrated our teams to become better and certainly learn how to win. And he put together a group in 95 that we finally were able to hoist the cup. My daughter at the time was only 1 year old, but we did all the fun things putting her in the cup. My son was not born yet, so he was born in 99, so he was 1 year old when we celebrated the second cup. And he was 4 in 2003. My daughter really appreciated 2003 because she was 8 years old. And really understood, and it was a storybook ending for me because it was my last game, a Game 7, hoisting the cup, and I don't think any athlete would want to go out any other way. I don't think it happens all that often, and I felt very grateful, fortunate to go out, win a Stanley Cup, my last game, and do it with the team that drafted me right from the start and stay in the organization. I'm grateful to the Devils. They've been with me through thick and thin, on and off the ice, through ups and downs, and I had plenty of them throughout my career. But the organization stuck by me, and it's been a two-way street. I was loyal to them. They were loyal to me. The fans of New Jersey were very blue-collar. I consider myself a blue-collar hard worker that had to earn everything he got. And the fans, I think, appreciated that, and I appreciated the fans for supporting me along the way. I wasn't a star. I was a guy in the trenches that was willing to do all the little things to help my team win. And yeah, that was losing a few teeth along the way. But my kids, like I said, they loved it. I mean, my daughter especially, she really, really absorbed the last cup of what her dad did throughout her career and just soaked it all in. And in 2006, when I humbly say they retired my number, it just shows that you don't have to be a star or a Hall of Famer to have your number, the ultimate honor, your number rising to the rafters. Loyalty and hard work, dedication means something, and it can pay off. And my kids, that was special, especially at Prudential Center when the numbers up there with all the greats and the Hall of Famers, the Broders and Niedermayers and Stevens, and now Patrick Elias, the other retired number who I hope gets in the Hall of Fame. He's eligible actually coming Wednesday, and we'll see if that happens. I think he deserves it. But to be up with those guys is kind of like Sesame Street at times for me. That song, Which One of These Doesn't Belong, I always feel from a talent's perspective. But my longevity, my dedication to the organization, paid dividends. And it shows, you can relay that to your kid. You can pass that along to your kids that in any walk of life, whatever you do, that old cliche term, hard work and believing in yourself and passion and dedication pays off. And that's what I transcend to my son who's in singing. By saying I know nothing about singing, acting, that's his world. And I go, but if you're not willing to work a little harder than the next guy, because the competition's tough, we all know that, and in any walk of life. And so when my number was in the rafters at Prudential and they were older in the first year, 2007, my son was 8 at the time when he came to the game. And like I said, he wasn't that into the game, but he pointed to the rafters and he saw the name Daneyko and he says, "Hey, that's my name up there." That was when it sunk in for me, because, you don't even absorb it. It's surreal. And I'm like, grateful and going, man, I had goosebumps and could barely talk. And I usually am never at a loss for words when I had the speech when your number's being retired. But to see your kids go, that's my name up there. And especially my son was overwhelmed, like not kind of understanding why his name is up there, but getting that it's something special. So a long-winded answer, Alec, but kind of puts everything in perspective.
Yeah, it does, and it's an awesome testimony to hard work. I mean, you had the vision as a child, and you were able to have this career that you always wanted, to achieve the highest level, win the Stanley Cup, have your number retired. You're a legend in the New Jersey Devils organization. So it's been an incredible journey to watch you progress over the years here, and then now playing as a defenseman. Obviously, one of the toughest positions to play, known for being tough guys, the defenders in the NHL. Nothing's tougher than that. Now, what type of disciplinarian are you as a father, and is it different than the disciplinarian style that you grew up with?
Well, I think my son has posted on Instagram last year, I think it was, and it was overwhelming and heartfelt for me. And he said, I think he said something along the lines when he was wishing me a happy birthday, that my dad was the biggest, toughest softy I've ever met. He knew what I was on the ice, and I had, especially the way the game was played back then, and it's evolved a little bit, and not as much fighting, and maybe not as nasty and physical as it was. And yeah, I had to be a big part of that. That was part of my role as a player with the Devils, protecting teammates and in the trenches, like I say. But look, I just try to. All I do as a parent is from my perspective, learned from my mistakes because I made plenty of them. And they know that. And I've shared everything with my kids. They know me to a T as far as I was never scared to. They've seen some of the problems. They've seen the rights, the wrongs. But we've talked about it as adults. And they're proud that I went through those problems and then rectified it and trying to live the best life I can. But to them, I always preach. And I know kids are going to go through whatever they go through and their ups, downs, and you got to be there to support them. And they're going to do things that aren't right, aren't right, as we say as parents. And they'll go, but Dad, you did that. And I'll go, yeah, Taylor, I went through that, and I went through some troubles. So you don't have to go through that, you know. That's what you're trying to like. But yes, they have to walk their own path, and you're there for them when they make their mistakes along the way. But to be honest with you, I'm probably not as tough a disciplinarian as at times parents maybe should be. I was a softie a little bit. My kids, I as tough as I like to think I was on the ice, I certainly, as the kids were growing up, like a lot of parents, spoiled them as much as I could. And I don't mean just from a material standpoint. I mean from I was a little easygoing, but my daughter always used to say, and I didn't mind that, you know, she'd say, Dad, we were always fearful of you. And I said, that's good, Taylor. I said, because you want to instill respect, but a little bit of fear. and it wasn't because I was I wasn't a meanie. I was pretty soft with them, but she just knew my presence. And I said, oh, good. I didn't know that because I said I was always thought I was too soft. But like I said, I just tried to relay when you know, the mistakes I made, and that you don't have to, you know, maybe you can go through them, or you can always come to me, because I'm not going to be that parent that screams and yells and scolds you. I'm going to be that parent that nurtures you, tell you where you can improve, because I've been through it all, I feel, and made those same mistakes along the way. But I guess that's, in a nutshell, it's interesting because I've never really talked about it, Alec. And when you ask me that, you know, I have to think through it and at times. But I'm glad after my career, I'm there for them a lot more. Especially, we always think they need you as children. They need you more as adults, believe it or not. That's what I see anyway. They need you in their, as they start their lives and into adulthood and be, you know, out in the working world. And my son's still in college. That this is when they really need an ear to listen to them and understand them. And I try to do that for them the best I can along the way.
Yeah, I'm still preparing myself for that, Ken. I have 4 children myself. My oldest is 14, so I'm getting ready to hit all them milestones with driving and dating and all the things that are to come with that. So I'm taking in as many lessons as I can from all the dads.
Alex, no question. And the dating thing, that was tough. But now she's 26, so I kind of I still treat her like she's 15 years old at 26.
I'm sure it's got to help too. Like if she's bringing some guy home to go to the prom with, you have one of the videos on of you knocking somebody out on the ice or something like that playing in the background. Like, you know, that's got to help.
Alec, we could talk all day, and this all should have been on the show. I got to write a book. I was going to one day, but put it on hold. Well, that's one of the greatest stories. High school. So I didn't pick her up much. We lived in Mendham at the time. My ex-wife usually picked her up, and I was always traveling or busy. So, you know, with the team, I was finished playing, but traveling with the team. So only a handful of times. So I pick her up one time. She's 15 years old. She's sitting on a picnic bench, 15 kids around, handful of girls, 8 guys. I pull up. Taylor goes, oh, my dad's here. I just kind of see her from 15 feet away. They all scatter. All the guys scattered. All the girls come up to say hi to me. Her daughters, her friends, because I know them since 5. And I said, Taylor gets in the car, and I said, you know, you can introduce me to your guy friends, too. It's okay. You know, I won't bite. She goes, Dad, are you kidding me? They're scared shitless of you. They've watched your fights on YouTube. I swear to God. Exactly. I used the word shitless. I looked at her. I said, good talk. good talk, sweetie. I said, that's a good thing. And she goes, I'd be never that threatening. They said they're scared chilies, because it happened a few occasions. I kept coming, the guys would scatter. They wouldn't even come say hello. Exactly alluding to what you said. So, and the exact words, she came to the car, they're scared shitless of you. I said, well, they can come shake my hand. I won't, it's safe. She goes, I know, Dad, and I said, but I kind of like that, Taylor. You just want them to find the right person, right, along the way that supports and loves you. But I always, and going back a little bit to saying I try to teach them and don't make the same mistakes I did. I said, do as I say, not as I did. Like, every once in a while as a teenager would throw in, but yeah, remember you, Dad, remember this, that. I said, yeah, do as I say, not as I did. Why do you need to go through the same troubles I did? She laughs about it to this day, but I feel grateful. I have probably a strong relationship today with my kids, that I'm able to be there now for them, going through ups and downs of a career and being focused on what you have to do in your life. So now as adults, I'm grateful. As an adult, and they're adults, grateful that I'm able to really be there for them now along the way and have those conversations that maybe I didn't have enough of and regret at times when they were kids.
Yeah, very well said, Ken. And I know that you're involved with the Center for Great Expectations. What is that charity all about? Who does it help? And how long have you been involved with them?
Oh gosh, it's double-digit years. I've lent my name to a golf outing. They just do wonderful work, and it was a local Jersey charity. And now they're based in Somerset, and Peg Wright, who's the CEO and the head of the foundation, has just done marvelous work along with her staff. But it's I went through some addiction problems along the way, so it kind of touched my heart. It's young women who've gone through addiction problems, mental health problems, growing up maybe on the wrong side of the tracks, or a tough environment when they were younger, and end up on the streets and are pregnant, and they have nowhere to go. So the Center for Great Expectations, which started out, back in the early 2000s around with 6 beds, now are up to 50, 60 beds, where they treat young women, keep them in for a year, and teach them how to live and be able to keep their babies first and foremost, and deal with addiction and get better, get sober, as well as, like I said, how to become a mother. They just teach you so much. It's not just it's not just a rehab. It's so much more, and it really hit near and dear to my heart when they'd asked me, we've had a golf tournament for a few years. And now I don't know what year I'm going on. I got to be honest, 13, 14 years now. We have another one coming up. It's usually in July. Because of the pandemic, now it's scheduled for September 24th. So anybody that wants to go to the golf outing, I always have some of my former teammates and everybody there. But it's an organization, because it was in Jersey, because they were small, they needed the help. They said, do you want to can you help us and put your name on our golf outing and maybe give it more focus and more notoriety, just putting your name there? And I'm like, oh no. I said, I do a lot for charity, and I try to do. I really want to do this and make a commitment. And in reality, I said yes, and it was the most fulfilling thing I've done, because I do my little part, but I just see the work they have done with these young women. And then at the end of the golf tournament, they always have a woman that's just ready to leave, and she brings her child in, and she's grown so much, and she's sober, and their success rate is better than most rehabs, I'll tell you that, as far as really teaching these young women how to live. And they grew up in some tough circumstances, whether it's addicted households or thrown out on the street or whatever it may be, and they pick them up, keep them for a year or whatever it takes, so that they can be productive in society and more, as importantly, productive mothers.
Yeah, I'll definitely drop a link to the foundation in the description of this podcast episode, so my listeners can go over there, check it out, see if they want to attend the golf outing as well. And
believe it or not, Alex, and sorry to interrupt, you can just go to the website and donate a box of diapers. They don't expect much, just anything, and they're doing wonderful work. They've gotten state grants now because they for it was such a charity that I knew the money was going to the right place. They were small. The people, their hearts are so huge. You know what I mean? Where compared to maybe all charities are great, but a bigger charity that maybe didn't need the help off the ground at the start. And that's what I'm proud of and proud to be part of them. And then they got some state grants along the way because they saw the incredible work they're doing with these young women. So, and like I said, it was near and dear to my heart because of, I went through some alcohol problems myself, and these young ladies have been through a lot of addiction problems.
Yeah, I love that, Ken. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself and an addict, so I love what the foundation stands for and what it's doing. And turning the attention here now too. I mean, you mentioned the pandemic pushing back the golf outing. Everything has been pushed back because of the pandemic. What does it look like right now? What's the latest status for the NHL? When are they set to start? And are you going to still be calling games or commentating? What's going to be your role moving forward here for this season?
Well, for people that follow the Devils, unfortunately, we missed out by one game of being part of the 2014 play-in and playoffs, shall you say, where they've had to. I think the National Hockey League's done a great job along the way. Look, there's phases they continue to say and want to make sure they finish the Stanley Cup. Yeah, it's a complete finish and have a Stanley Cup champion for this season. They had to alter things obviously dramatically, and the season was halted in the mid of March, and so anywhere from 10 to 12 games weren't completed for the regular season. So they had to come up with some scenario, some different dynamic to try to make it as fair as possible. And that was a 24-team system. Originally, 16 teams make the playoffs. And the Devils, we're young. We're going through a process here of growing. So we weren't going to make the playoffs, I don't think, initially. But we didn't realize when they revamped everything a couple months later and said we're going to, continue to watch the pandemic, and I hope everybody's safe and healthy first and foremost. And as we continue to open up businesses, because I know a lot of people are suffering, but hockey along the Devils, if they would have won their last game against Pittsburgh Penguins, some people don't realize they would have been in instead of Montreal Canadiens, and it would have been. It's wide open because it's kind of like the start of the season. I find that intriguing. Everybody's to say, well, it's not fair for the teams that were having such great years. No. Nobody could have predicted this, right? And this is crazy times. So, however they come back, and I know some say, well, scrap it and wait till next season, just start the season in time. But I think it's better. They're going to push back next season because we'll know more about the pandemic. And I think that's a good thing if the following season, which usually starts in October, is going to start in December or January or whatever it may be. I think that might be a good thing. And I just think the players and the National Hockey League have done a good job, and they plan on starting, I believe, the end of July, August 1st, of best of 5 play-in. 4 top teams of before the pandemic hit, and where they were sitting in the standings get a bye, but they're going to play each other to keep active and for a seeding way. And what you read on Instagram or Twitter's pretty well the same as I get. Obviously, I know some people in National Hockey League, and I know they continue to push forward. There are setbacks. There's the players testing positive, but of course that's going to happen. I don't think they thought it was going to be smooth sailing along the way, but they're taking every precaution, following the medical guidelines along the way, and we're hoping, and I believe it's going to happen, that they're going to start in 2 hub cities. That's it. Make a bubble. No fans, but people will be able to see the playoffs of and somebody win the Stanley Cup on TV sooner than later here.
Yeah, I think it's great news. I think God only knows we need some sports or something to get on there for people. They're thirsty for it, for sure. So it'll be exciting to see some sports going on.
And I don't know if I prefaced that perfectly. I was trying to give it to you in a synopsis. Having said that, everybody can read it online, just like I can along the way. But I just commend the National Hockey League and Players Association along the way here, really trying to get some normalcy back to our lives. Yes, I know we all know what is coming ahead, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But along the way, with precautionary measures, we need, sports is a good outlet for all of us, right? And we've all been going through a lot during these times. And like I said, I just hope everybody's safe, healthy. And as the state of New Jersey, we see some of the businesses finally opening up. I'm grateful for that because I know a lot of my friends, and I'm sure you as well, Alex, have really suffered along the way here. But they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, I'll make sure that Twitter headline reads, Ken Danico says the puck drops August 1st.
That's what I get from Twitter and everybody else. And yes, I know some people in the National Hockey League, but I guess that is the target date as well.
Okay. Well, you know what? Last thing I want to hit you with here, Ken, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Well, I think certainly I'm a lot smarter now at 56 than I was at 32 when I had my first child, my daughter Taylor. I will tell you that. What advice? I mean, you know, I have no magic formula or potion. I just am grateful my kids have grown up pretty good now, and they went through some ups and downs along the way with their dad for sure. I mean, good, bad, and indifferent. But just, you know, be honest with them. They're like sponges. They know a lot more than you think at a young age. So I think it's pretty good to be open with them right out of the gate and tell them the do's and don'ts as far as, you know, what's important, what can get you in trouble, and things along the way, and listen to them. That's the key, is listen to them. You know, a lot of times we get caught up in our lives and we're so busy, and I was no different, and more so than anybody, I would say, as far as an athlete. And they'll come to you and you at times yeah at them and just hang on. And now especially, I told you, as they became adults, I'm like, anytime they call, those are the only two calls I absolutely pick up right away. Here's my children. Every single time, doesn't matter where I am, even during a game at times, or text them right back. It is so that I can lend an ear, and I think it starts right at a young age, that you want to listen to their what's going on in their life, what is bothering them, how you can help them through those times along the way, I guess, and just really support them and believe in them when they're telling you they can do something. Because my mother believed in me when I was a young kid, even though I think she petrified me at times and didn't think I was being realistic. Said, yeah, Kenny, you're going to play in the National Hockey League. I get it, with an eye roll, but thinking I wasn't really, and maybe I was shooting a little bit too high. But no, you got to believe in your kids, guide them. And I always say, lastly, and I know I've blabbered on here, but don't push too hard, especially in the sports. My dad never did any of that for me. He supported me, took me everywhere to my events. Today, sometimes I see parents just jam it down their kids' throat because that's what they want them to do or be. And I'm grateful I was so opposite. My son, his mom at times would say, teach him, get him on the ice more, because you're a pro athlete. And I knew he didn't have the passion, and that's what he didn't like it that much. That was not his thing. And now she thanks me. She says, Dad, you really were one of those guys that just, I said, no, I wasn't the guy that was going to throw it down his throat. He's going to find his own niche. I'm going to support whatever he enjoys doing. And that was singing, acting, plays, everything else. And right into college, where he's going to a school for that and for his what his dream is all about. And I think sometimes it sounds simple, but I don't think we do it all the time. I think we try to guide them toward what we like. You know what I mean? And I think that can really be a detriment and can wear on kids along the way.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Ken Danico, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
My pleasure. I hope I didn't keep you too long. Sometimes it's hard to get things shortened when I'm explaining something. I'm a guy that's gregarious.